Basketball season is upon us. Will Montana State and Eastern Washington defend their tournament titles, or will we crown a new champion? The road to Boise begins now. Welcome to Big Sky Basketball Tip-Off presented by Idaho Central Credit Union. Welcome into Big Sky Tip-Off. I'm your host, Megan Robinson. Get ready to chat all things Grizzlies. Even with the largest transfer class in program history, the Montana men's team enters the season as number one in the coaches' poll. They are led by 11th year head coach Travis DeCure, who has never had a losing season in Missoula. Also returning preseason all-conference selection, Brandon Whitney. Both Coach and Brandon are with me now. You have the largest transfer class in Montana basketball history this season, adding 8 transfers to your roster. How would you assess the team chemistry so far that you've seen in fall practices?
I would say the chemistry is great. We were fortunate to get high character guys that are here for all the right reasons. The hardest part for us right now is the continuity and our ability to play with one another. But they definitely are getting along with one another and want each guy to have their own individual success and win together.
Brandon, what made you return to Missoula for this 5th season?
Well, I had a lot of conversations with my parents, with the coaches and stuff, and a lot went into it. But at the end of the day, it's just came back to win the Big Sky Championship.
Coach, going back to that roster, what are the benefits of having so many new faces in your locker room?
We've got so many guys from so many different places right now. I just think they have a lot of different experiences to share. All motivated for different reasons. I think our level of hunger for success individually and collectively is really high. I know one thing that's not in that locker room is complacency. And I think sometimes when you bring a lot of guys back, especially after having some success, complacency is one of the toughest things to avoid. And I know we don't have that in the locker room right now.
Brandon, you don't have complacency, which is a good thing. What are some of the characteristics you guys do possess on that Grizz team?
We have a lot of new people, and they know that every day you have to compete to get the position or the minutes that you want to play. So I think that's one thing that we all have.
Coach, Brandon, a 5th year player on this roster. How have you seen him step up as a leader and welcome these new guys into the team?
One, he's an incredible example setter. I think his willingness to get up, or I should say his eagerness to get up and prepare himself to compete every day, whether it's in the weight room, workouts, practice. He knows what it takes to prepare yourself for every day. And I think we've got a lot of new faces that are still figuring that out. And so he's been an incredible example setter for us. And I think his temperament. I think the fact that he can practice through adversity, he can practice through pain, knickknacks, things like that, that are, important to be an athlete. You're never 100% as an athlete. And to see him show up every day, not miss a practice, not miss a workout, I think is huge.
Brandon, where do you find that tenacity to fight through the pain or the days that you don't want to be there?
It still sticks with me from last year, our last game in the Big Sky Championship. And obviously there's other things too, but every day I just come in and try to compete. They're always in my mind, or that game is always in my mind, and it always gets me going every single day.
Coach, Brandon mentioned you guys playing for the Big Sky Championship last season. You are the Big Sky's active leader in wins. You've never had a losing season with the Grizz. How do you maintain that standard year after year?
I think the biggest issue, I just mentioned complacency, right? I'm in fear of that. And you've got to find new ways to motivate yourself each season, set new goals. We're always competing for one thing. And so I think when the bar is so high, that if you were to fall a little short of your individual or collective goals, you still should have some sort of success. And I think that that's been a big part of our trend, as a staff, get up and attack every day pretty much the same. And we set the tone with our group. We practice the same time every day. Our meetings are pretty much at the same time, and we go about every day the same, win, lose, or draw. And I think that if you can be consistent in your daily routines, then you'll be consistent as a program.
Brandon, coach has never had a losing season in Missoula, which means you've never had a losing season in Missoula. What is it like to play for a team where the expectations are always high?
It's fun. Every game we always get everybody's best day. Everybody always wants to beat the Montana Grizzlies, but it's fun.
After the break, hear from the Montana women's team.
We focus on youth sports because we truly believe that youth are the foundation of Montana's future. I think nothing improves your mental health and well-being and your physical health and well-being than being outside, active, talking to other people, and socializing in an environment like that. Learning teamwork, learning leadership skills, resiliency. As a company, we're deeply invested in our communities, not just our members.
Welcome back to Big Sky Tip-Off. I'm your host, Megan Robinson. Head coach Brian Holsinger knows there are high expectations for his Lady Grizz entering 2024. They were picked third in the preseason polls. Colt Holsinger is here with me now alongside his senior forward, Danny Barsh. How are you feeling about your team heading into 2024-25 season?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting, right? Fourth year. Danny, you're sitting here watching Danny. I've been able to coach her now for 3 full years, and I feel like our leadership is as good as it's ever been. I feel like we're at a place where the culture is strong, our identity is strong in what we want to do, and so I'm really, really excited about this season.
Danny, coach mentioned your growth a little bit. You were a freshman, his first year as a head coach up there in Missoula. How have you seen him grow from your freshman and his freshman year until now?
I feel like he, just like in a relationship standpoint, the way he coaches each player, I feel like he has a lot better understanding of, personally with me, I've seen it over the years. He knows that I like to be screamed at, and so when he needs to make a point to the team or anything, he'll use me as an example, but he knows I can take it, and I know that it's coming from more of that standpoint than anything personal. But just, he always puts the person before the player.
Coach, Danny said, she likes to be screamed at and that she can take the criticism. How does that play into how you think you are as a coach?
Not really that, right? So my job is to get the best out of everybody, and that's it. I tell recruits this, I tell everybody this. Come here if you feel like I'm the kind of coach and we are the kind of culture that you can be your very best. Danny is somebody you can just get on. And I think because of that, she's really improved fast from her freshman year to now, into being one of the best players in the league.
Coach, you talk about Danny being one of the best players in the league. Danny, you were named to the Big Sky all defensive team last season, averaging over 10 rebounds per game. What makes you such an effective rebounder?
I honestly think it probably came from volleyball growing up, and maybe a touch of laziness when I'm rebounding with my teammates. I hate chasing balls, and so I got really good at reading the ball off the rim. But getting my feet to the ball and going up and getting it, I think that definitely stems from volleyball.
Based on what you've seen so far at practice, what do you think your team's strengths are for this season?
Yeah, it's interesting. Everybody, we broke tons of records from three-point shooting last year. We were one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country, if not the best, from a percentage in threes made per game. This team's a little different. We're bigger, we're stronger, we're meaner, we're more competitive. We're just a very different team. We're by far the most competitive team. I actually had a former player in here today. She'd probably be offended by that, but it's the truth. We are really, really, really competitive group. They play really hard. We still will shoot the three, but we have a different attitude this year than we've had since I've been here, and I like it. That we're tough and we're gonna rebound the ball hard, which I love. And we're gonna be hard to score against, I think, this year compared to last.
I just feel like from what I've seen, just grit and just a competitive standpoint, this team definitely hates losing a lot more. We got a few players who will grunt and scream when they mess up. The desire to win and dive on the floor for a ball is a lot higher than some teams in the past that I've played with.
Coach, what needs to happen in 24-25 for you to consider this season successful?
Ever since I've gotten here, we want to get this program back. This is a very proud program. This is a program that's won 24 conference titles, 21 times the NCAA tournament. Success is what's been here. And so we got to a place last year where we were in contention for the Big Sky title and had some really good wins, 23 wins, the first time in the postseason in 10 years, a lot of things that had been done, but not recently. And so I feel like this year's successful will be, just again, putting ourselves in position to win the Big Sky Conference title or tournament title, either one. And that comes through just the understanding the process and working through things. We'll be good on both sides of the ball. We got to stay healthy. But success is just really about enjoying the process, enjoying each other, having a great experience. We pride ourselves in giving everybody here a great experience, one that they can remember for a lifetime.
Coming up, Coulter Nuanez and Krista Redpath join the show to give us a breakdown of Big Sky basketball.
We never set out to be the largest casino resort in the Pacific Northwest. We just wanted to be the best. But we forgot that being the best means more guests wanting more action, more jackpots, more big-name entertainment, more pedicures. Well, more everything. Until one day, you look up and realize, we need a new hotel tower. The new River Tower, to be exact. Northern Quest in Spokane, Washington. Now the largest. And yes, still the best.
Welcome back to Big Sky Tip-Off. I'm Megan Robinson, joined now by two of our Big Sky basketball analysts, Krista Redpath and Coulter Nuanez. Guys, let's just get right to it. What were your initial thoughts on the Big Sky basketball preseason rankings? Coulter, I'll go to you first.
It's interesting when you analyze the men's league because there's so few returners these last couple of years. That's sort of a symptom of where we're at in Division I college basketball. But the one school that has had returners two off seasons in a row has been Montana, and I think that's reflected when you look at the polls. Last year they returned 6 guys, which is an unheard of number for mid-major teams, and this year they have a couple stalwarts coming back, led by Brandon Whitney, who's going to be sort of an unprecedented 5th-year starter there at Montana.
I wasn't shocked on the women's side. I really expected NAU to come out on top when you look at the fact that they played in the conference championship the last 3 years. They return a nucleus of players led by preseason MVP Sophie Glancy and also Leah Beatty at the guard position. Returning both the Moran sisters, and you mix in a Taylor Feldman and a Sanaya Neverson. And I look at NAU just having that nucleus back, but also just a year of maturity under their belt. And so I wasn't shocked by that. I look at the Montana schools battling out, both Montana State and Montana. When you take a look at Montana State, they also were faced with injuries last year, but this year, with the transfer of Esmeralda Morales, as well as Lexi Deedon possibly coming back from this ACL, they're loaded. They're locked and loaded.
Montana State men have reached 3 consecutive NCAA tournaments after winning 3 Big Sky tournament titles. Who would be the dark horse on the men's side to maybe dethrone the Bobcats?
First of all, I thought it was interesting that Montana State got so much love in the preseason polls because they do lose a lot. Of course, they return Brian Garacki, they returned Brandon Walker, but Robert Ford was the heart and soul of that team. So he's certainly going to be tough to replace. I actually probably would have said that Montana State would have been one of my dark horses if they weren't so highly rated in the preseason polls, but they got a whole bunch of respect in the preseason polls. One team that Krista and I actually previewed on our series Big Sky Hoops Hits 2 weeks ago is Northern Arizona on the men's side. I think that they have more continuity than a lot of the other teams in the league. You look at Trenton McLaughlin, who's leading returning scorer in the league, really, really talented guy. You look at Carson Tout, he's my kind of player. I mean, he's the guy that could fit in on every single team in the Big Sky Conference. He doesn't need to shoot it. He doesn't need to dribble it. He just sets screens and rebounds and plays defense. Northern Arizona, I know, was picked in the middle of the league, but I think they could definitely make some noise. They proved it last year. I mean, they beat every good team in the league at least once. They just have to figure out a way to sweep some of those good teams to get into that top third of the league standings.
Coulter, you just brought up Trent McLaughlin from NAU. He, of course, is the preseason MVP in the Big Sky. Krista, you mentioned Sophie Clancy, the women's MVP. I'll start with you, Krista. Did the voters get it right choosing those 2 Lumberjacks as our preseason MVPs?
Well, I think they definitely did. When you look at these players and what they have contributed to the Big Sky, And of course, I can allude to Sophie Glancy just being a force down low. I mean, she was a unanimous first team All Big Sky Conference selection last year. Her physical skills, strength, agility, quickness around the basket, she really separated herself.
On the men's side, I think you could have got a variety of different ways, but Trent McLaughlin's certainly a worthy candidate, no doubt. It's a great story there at NAU too. First of all, they've poured a bunch of money into athletics, which I think is benefiting them a bunch. You've seen both their basketball programs get better, but also the McLaughlin brothers are one of the great stories in the Big Sky, right? Like Alex McLaughlin's one of the best football players in the conference. Trent, his older brother, one of the best basketball players in the conference. And you have to think that both those guys probably had opportunities to go elsewhere. They didn't because they're there together. That's a cool story. So hopefully that resonates with people.
Krista and Culture, we know NAU women, Montana, and Montana State men are the favorites in both the coaches and the media polls to win the Big Sky Conference this year. Krista, I will go to you first. Who are you picking to win the Big Sky Conference? Give me both your men's and women's picks.
Well, I definitely had NAU to win, with the Montana schools really coming in hot. And on the men's side as well, I think Coach DeCure has done a fantastic job bringing in some really great transfers, but also building around Brandon Whitney. I mean, he's one of the only Grizz players to average double figures for all 4 of his years playing for Montana, just a veteran guard. I also think with the transfer of Patterson from Sac State at the guard position, Montana definitely has all the weapons to look like they are in the forefront to win the Big Sky.
I picked Montana State. And the reason I picked Montana State is I think that Tricia Binford has established herself as the most consistent and best coach in the conference. I thought last year was one of her best coaching jobs. I remember a post that they had on their Instagram page of their bench celebrating, and their bench was KJ Lamardo and Taylor Jansen and Lexi Deedon and all these all-league caliber players that were all hurt. And Tricia Binford got through that season, and they made a run at it. I mean, they were in the semifinals last year. They finished 4th, even though they had more injury bad luck than I've ever seen. You bring all that back, you bring in Esmeralda Morales, and I just think they have a chance to be a really special team. On the men's side, I voted for Montana just because they have the most returners, but I think it's so wide open with all these new players and so many new roster complexions throughout the league. We really just won't know. It's going to take till February until these teams really coalesce. They really start working the ball around and playing together. And look at what happened last year. I mean, Montana State was up and down all year long. But then they coalesced and they played so well down the stretch. And then they had one of the great tournament runs we have ever seen. So that's what it's going to take. Who comes together at the end? Who plays down the stretch? Travis DeCure has proven he can get his team to do that at Montana. Matt Logie, same thing at Montana State. And I think there's a couple other coaches like Eric Duft at Weber and Steve Smiley at Northern Colorado that have proven that as well. So who can get their team to come together? Even though I voted for Montana, I think the men's side is wide open.
Krista Coulter, less than 5 months, and we will see who is crowned a new champion up in Boise. Can't wait to see you both at that tournament. Still to come, what can fans expect from our championship week? Our friends from Visit Boise stop by to share all the city has to offer.
Yeah, definitely. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. See you next week.
Bye.
All right. Thanks. All right. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Welcome back to Big Sky Basketball Tip-Off. I'm Megan Robinson. Our tournament is in Boise every year, so who better to have on the show than someone from Visit Boise, Lucas Gebhardt. The tournament has been in Boise since 2019. What impact does the Big Sky Basketball Tournament have on the city of Boise?
We think it's about a $6.5 million total economic impact to the city. And so that what we mean by that is all the hotel spending, all of the money that's spent at restaurants and shops and ticket sales and things like that. We think about 13,000 people or so go to the tournament. That includes local fans as well as fans that are traveling to Boise. And we think about 4,300 fans or so travel to Boise to watch this tournament from the various Big Sky markets. So it definitely has a huge impact for the city, and we're excited to have it once again in 25.
For those who have not been to Boise, like myself, what kinds of things can they expect to do there outside of the tournament?
The cool part about our tournament is all the fans can stay in our downtown hotels and be walking distance from the game. So if you fly, you don't have to rent a car. Our airport's 7 minutes. Our downtown is 7 minutes away from our airport. We have tons of great outdoor recreation activities. We have a 30-mile long bike trail that runs along our river, both sides of our river. We also have tons of hot springs that are within a couple hours drive of Boise. Some are under an hour from Boise. We have a great wine country that's about 45 minutes outside of downtown as well. So Idaho's got some really underrated wine that we definitely want people to check out if they end up coming here. We were rated by National Geographic as one of the best in the world destinations to visit in 2025. So that's something that we just got awarded. We're pretty excited about that. So we got lots of things to do here, whether it's our great restaurant scene or outdoor recreation or just the walkable and accessibility to all the things to do in our downtown.
One of the big things that people want to know when they go to a new city is, where are some of the restaurants that I must try?
Some of the best restaurants in town are some of our Basque restaurants. We have an entire block in our downtown that's dedicated to that Basque culture and that Basque heritage. We also have a restaurant in downtown called Kin that their chef just won a James Beard Award. That's the first James Beard Award that any restaurant or chef in our city has won. So that's something else that we're pretty excited about.
I can't wait to get up there and experience Boise in a few months for myself. And I appreciate you taking time to put a spotlight on your city.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for previewing the season with me on Big Sky Basketball Tip-Off presented by Idaho Central Credit Union. I'm your host, Megan Robinson, and I can't wait to see you all in Boise in March.